Calls and webinars are recorded for stakeholder convenience, allowing those who are unable to attend to listen to the recordings after the meetings. The recordings will be publicly available on the ISO webpage for a limited time following the meeting. The recordings and any related transcriptions should not be reprinted without the ISO permission. We'll follow the following agenda today. Talk about the Mapstage availability, fall 2020 release, market simulation timelines, initiatives. Then we'll go through each initiative we have for fall release, and then we'll talk about the known issues for ADS and DRS and next steps. Mapstage availability can also be checked at portalmap.kaiser.com. We have the following upcoming Mapstage maintenances. Today, we'll have a brief interruption for master file API. On 3rd of September till 4th of September, we have ADS, UI, and API interruption. ADS UI closure system will be unavailable. ADS API, it will be a brief interruption. From 14th September to 18th September, CMRI UI and API will be under maintenance for EIM enhancement 2020 deployment. Any questions here? All right, moving on. This is similar to last time we had the meeting. We have no additional changes to this slide. I also want to remind everyone that the Energy Storage and Distributed Energy Resource Phase 3 project, we will have a rerun on 2nd of September. Moving on. For Energy Storage and Distributed Energy Resources, as I mentioned, we'll have a rerun on 9/2, and there's a setup needed. If you want to set up for PDR, LSR curtailment, then market participant wants to see only energy one, then submit very cheap energy bids. If market participant wants to see AS award, any spin, submit very expensive energy bids and $0 spin bid. For PDR, LSR consumption, avoid submitting large negative bids, suggested bid around -$1. Structured scenario document and training documents are available at link 1 and link 2 here. For access behind the meter, we're going to perform the cutover MSTT. We are going to perform the cutover along with the MSTT project, and the first settling trade day will be trade day 25. I want to remind all the market participants here that they have to submit meter data for initial by 28. That was a couple of days back, and for 2nd of September for the recalc statement. Also, ISO has terminated the submitted access behind the meter values for trade day 825 to execute structured scenario number 1 in order to demonstrate the use of only gross load data for the initial statement. Please submit access behind the meter values for trade day 825 by 9/2 for structure scenario 2 to include in recalc. This is something new here, so I'm going to stop for any questions if anybody has on this.
Hey, Anjuman, thank you. This is Trang. Can I just elaborate on this one for a moment?
Please go ahead, Trang.
Okay. So for access behind the meter production and the structured scenarios, so we wanted to clarify to how the scenarios, what we were expecting in terms of meter submission for trade date 825. So when we actually go to production, you'll be able to submit the load and the behind the meter type meter data. There's for the same trade date. But in Mapstage, our structured scenario 1 was to allow or just to calculate or use the load meter data and not access behind the meter production meter data for that scenario to show that that in the initial, and then in the recalc we would incorporate the access behind the meter production meter data. So we noticed that we did get some submissions from you for behind the meter meter data type, which would have interfered with the execution of structured scenario 1. So we manually terminated those behind the meter data values for trade 825 so that we could publish the initial without those. But we do want those values for the recalc, which is why we're saying if you do want to resubmit for trade 825 the behind the meter meter data, then we will use that for the recalc of that same trade date. Okay. All right.
Hi, Train. Hi, Ashman. This is Chun Yu. I do have a question. So that means that when we submitted data for both channel, not both channel, both meter data measurement type, the low and EBTMP. So that means when we go into MRIS, we will not be able to see the EBTMP data that we submitted. When you say you terminate that, is that means it's no longer displayed in MRIS?
Actually, that's a good question. So I believe that I know that we terminated it from the settlement side so that settlements wouldn't process the BTM type. And do I have anybody from MSDC or settlements on? I can find out for you. We can find out for you, Chun Yu, if your submissions are still there on the MRIS metering side, and if we just terminated it only from the settlements tables. Okay.
Okay. And if I recall correctly, I don't know if any of our SMEs online. We actually able to retrieve the data that we submit, and I do recall there's the EBTMP data there. That's why I asked, and also if you guys do some work later on, so our IT also need to we need to create some net load data, so we need to download the load and then EBTMP. So it's important to understand if they're still in MIS.
Yeah, fair enough, Chun Yu. And then just to give you the timeline too, as far as the termination of the BTM values from what I believe is just the settlements data, that was done just earlier today. Oh, and it looks like we do have somebody from the settlements team that can provide some information. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure they're unmuted to be able to give us some more detail. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. 1 second. All right. Okay, so if I have the MSDC team, if you can, Assad, try to speak now.
Yeah, hi everyone.
We can hear you. Thank you. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So the data that terminated is only in our side. So
okay, good.
It's still market data table, but in MRI, you can able to see your data. We didn't terminate the data in staging or in MRI. The only data terminated in still market data. This means you cannot will not process the data for access behind meter in the initial daily market.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Assad. So that's clear then, Chun Yu, is that, yes, the expectation is for MRIS, you should be able to see what you submitted and be able to retrieve that from that system. What we cleaned up was that on the settlement side, the data that we received for the BTM type, that had been removed so that you won't see that in your initial. You'll only see the load submissions in your initial, but then for the recalc, I believe, Assad, if you can confirm that we will restore those BTM data submissions when we do the recalc, or if customers submit new BTM meter data for the 825, we'll also take anything that's submitted by 9/2 for that recalc, as well as restoring the ones that we terminated, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so I hope that helps. Chunyu, do you have any further questions, or does anybody else have any further questions?
Yeah, I do have a follow-up question. Thanks, Chen. Thanks, Asad. So I guess I just need to confirm this. So since the data already submitted, EBTMP would say, if it's in MRIS, when you taking the data to do the structure scenario 2, do we need to resubmit EBTMP value for trade day August 25th, or you should be able to take whatever is in the MRIS?
Yes, so you should not need to resubmit for if you've already submitted it. I believe you're free to submit new meter data for that trade date with the BTM type, but you are not required to. We will take what you submitted before for the recalc.
Okay, that sounds good. And I do have one more question, sorry. Regarding to this one, for the Oasis report, I have a ticket on this, and I don't remember if I received a response or not. If there will be a energy performance for EBTMP report in Oasis, and do you know when will we be able to see the report?
Tanya, I think that we'll have to look back at that city unless I have somebody on the call that can answer that. But my understanding was for the EBTMP report, which we'll need to confirm, is that settlements would send that data to Oasis either, I believe, after the recalc, but we'll have to confirm what when the trade day 825 data will be populated in that report, unless there's anybody on the call that can answer that. Okay, so Chunyu, if we'll take a look at the city case, and if you wanted to send us the number offline, we can use that as well.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Trent.
All right. Thank you, Chunyu.
Sorry. I just have one other person on the settlements team that is trying to speak. So let me see if we can unmute them. And just a reminder, too, for those of you that are on the WebEx, you should be able to unmute yourself by clicking the microphone icon. And then I think, Inchman, you had one other way for users to unmute themselves. Is that right?
*6.
*6.
I believe that's what, yeah.
Okay, so Alexandra, can you try that, just because I'm not sure which user you're logged in as?
Hi, Trent. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. We can hear you. Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay, thanks. So, Chenyu, your question about the Oasis report. So, yes, Trang was correct. Once we run the recalc, those meter values, settlements will send those to Oasis. At that report, I believe that's scenario number 3, the market structure scenario number 3. So when we run that, it'll show those values.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alexander. Yeah.
And then, Alexandra, would that so that is expected? Do you know which day that would be expected to run that recalc? I wasn't sure off the top of my head.
I don't have the date right in front of me.
Okay. We can
follow up.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to the next slide. This is for the market settlement timeline transformation project. There's no update on this. We're still processing the data for trade day 825. The structured scenario document and training documents are available at link 1 and 2. ADS replacement project. The training documents are updated here, part 1 and part 2. And I'm not sure if Gina is on the call, but I received the latest information that she would be able to post one more training document by tomorrow. That would include the advanced filtering information in that document. Gina, if you're on the call, do you want to say a few words on this?
Hi, Anshuman. This is Dina. Yeah, so I just wanted to confirm that I should have at least a draft document of the user guide. And so we'll aim to post that draft tomorrow, and that would be in the EDS replacement section of the fall release documentation.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So one more good news about this project, Automated Dispatch System Displacement, is that we promised a lot of fixes that were coming on 4th of September. They're all already deployed on the Mapstage environment, so you should be able to go and look at the fixes. We're still validating on our end, but if you want to go ahead and test it out, you're more than welcome to do so. I would invite Firdaus if you want to add a few words on this.
Yes, Anshuman, and so just to correct it a bit, all the fixes are deployed in our test environment, which is the map test, and we are validating. So we are on target to deploy all those fixes as we promised during our next maintenance window, which is September 3rd and 4th. So by the time we will be deploying. So this will be available for you by the end of the 9/4 or maybe next business day whenever you log into the system to validate.
All right. So I think I spoke to a little early. Thank you, Firdaus, for correcting me. It's on map test. It will come to map page by 9/4.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. And Anshuman, if I could also add while you and Firdaus are on too on the topic of ADS. So that is good news that we have the fixes in-house that we're testing for this maintenance. And then also, as we prepare for parallel operations too, we just wanted to kind of continue the discussion we had last week about URLs and IPs and things. So I did respond to a few of you about the expectations for the new IPs that would be needed for to be whitelisted, even if you're still using V7 of ADS. And in the TUG tomorrow, we also have that presentation posted that shows the additional new IPs to be whitelisted for the ADS API, even though the URL isn't changing, and even if you're not going to V8 for the web services, there are new IPs that you should be prepared to whitelist for to make sure that your connectivity is successful. So we can add that link to the TUG presentation in this slide before we post the Market Sim call, and then and that presentation for the tomorrow's TUG is also available on the dev site, so you can have a preview of that now, and then just let us know if there are any questions either on the call or before the call tomorrow. And Firdaus, did you want to add anything on that piece?
No, Trang, I think you covered almost everything. But
okay.
Unless if there are any specific question, maybe we can cover it.
Okay. All right. We'll reference that here too before Anshuman posts the Market Sim presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for the update, Trang. Any questions here on the updates? All right. Moving on. For order number 841, requested adjustment, the settlement statement was published. We're still awaiting if market participants were able to verify the results, or if there are any concerns, please let us know. Commitment cost and default energy bid enhancement, we welcome market participants to do the testing till 4th of September. We still have this week to do any unstructured testing that you might want to do on this one. Same thing goes for the commitment cost enhancement tariff clarification. Any testing can be done till 4th of September for this project. Dispatch operating target tariff clarification project is complete. Structured scenarios were completed on 12th of August, and the training document and the structured scenario document is available on the following links. These are the known issues of ADS that we were talking about, that the fixes are under test in map test, and they are in line to be deployed on Mapstage by 9.4. These are the known issues for DRRS. We're still working on it. We don't know when the estimated fix will be available. We'll have the next meeting on September 3rd at 2 p.m. I will open up this call for any questions from market participants, if any. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining the meeting. We'll see you on the 3rd of September.
Okay. Can I ask am I too late? Can I ask a question?
No,
Hello?
please go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is Emmy Stenset for Alsus and Midway Sunset. The flexible resource dispatches, when we're running in parallel, will those be different in September than they will be in October, or will we see a real run in September in MAP?
Is there anybody from CAISO wants to take this question?
So this is Gina. I'm not sure if Curtis is still online too, but I think you're referring to ADS replacement project, correct?
Correct.
And you're talking a specific dispatch or just all dispatches in general?
Well, I'm wondering if there's going to be a change in dispatches on October 1, or if we will see a full parallel run that will show all of the new features as well, all of the new dispatches.
Okay, yeah. So a couple clarifications. The parallel operations will be in the stage environment. However, you brought up a good point that the stage environment will not receive any of the new functionality. So meaning you'll be able to see like the columns or the data fields which are associated. But because there's some different payloads involved, you won't see that data populate because currently in production, that functionality is not available. So you will see that difference going into October. So if you're testing, you want to continue testing that new functionality in Mapstage. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Hello? Hi. So is there any update on master file GenRDG version 14? We have some issue with OpenTicket with CAISO, and there is some issues with code for XML validation. Are there any update on that? And did I miss it?
Hi, Nora. This is Chang. Thanks for the question. And then can you just confirm for me the city case, because there was a known issue, and that maintenance that we had that was scheduled for today with a brief interruption, that was to actually resolve that issue. But if I can just, if you have the city case that you can provide to me, I can confirm that that is indeed the one that was addressed today. And that change is done in Mapstage, and it just finished, so we hadn't flipped the city yet. That was associated to that. But
okay, great. 00227779.
That is the one. So you should be able to try that now, and let us know. We'll also follow up and update the city as well. But I can assure you it's in. Okay.
Thank you, Nora, for the question and Trang for the answer. If anybody has any more questions, you can unmute yourself with *6, I believe. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining the meeting. We'll see you again on 3rd of September.
Thank you.